Alright guys, welcome to the video. Very luckily today we have a big name in the For Honor competitive scene. I guess For Honor in general. A candidate for the best player in the world in the game. Skorbrand. Skorbrand, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure, absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit, Skor, about your background in gaming, where you come from, and you know how you got into For Honor?
Yeah, it's my background in gaming. Before For Honor, I played Dark Souls 2 and 3 PvP, and was one of the best in the world, I found. It was a very small population of players though, so it wasn't that hard to be one of the best, but yeah, it came from that to For Honor. You know, they're both similar types of games. You know, you got a sword, your opponent got a sword, you go and kill them, and it was kind of a natural transition. You know, the game was interesting to me in that way. So I picked it up around closed beta, loved it immediately. Picked it up on live, kept playing it, started competing in tournaments,
beating other players very quickly.
Yep.
What about For Honor attracts you to the game, Skor? Why are you still playing?
It's just completely unique, and its uniqueness, it strikes something with me. Like, there's no other game like it. You know, it's a fighting game on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a MOBA. There's no other game like this, and it's really enjoyable to me. Combining these fighting game reads and reactions and everything with the team play.
And when it comes to team play, how is the competitive scene team play? How's it looking? Is ones the most competitive? Is it the team modes? Is it twos? What's the major scene?
Far and away, it is 4v4 Dominion. It's just a completely different level, in my opinion, of how much skill is required and how much depth there is in the mode. You know, you look at any other big competitive game, right? They're all team games. You know, you got League of Legends and Dota and CS:GO and everything. Because being a team game, there's that extra element. You know, you gotta communicate with your teammates, you gotta have synergy with them. There's a bigger scope in the game because there's more people in there, so there's more things to keep track of, more things to get better at, improve at. So yeah.
No, this is a question I get asked a lot. I know a lot of players that stream and whatever else get asked a lot, like all the time. Who do you main, Skorbrand? Does Skorbrand have a main?
I do not have a main, no. Back around release, my main was Warlord, but for a long time, I've just played whatever is needed for my team or whatever mode I'm playing in. I don't think there's really that much depth in the characters themselves. The characters are all pretty simple. It's not that hard to pick them up. The depth more comes from the game mode itself and the team play. So yeah, I pretty much just play every character.
So Skorbrand has no main. Skorbrand mains whatever is needed. You're like Superman.
Yeah.
When it comes to these team modes and communication and stuff like that, is the competitive scene active? Is it big, small? Is it growing? Are people getting into it? Where is it right now?
Well, it's definitely small at the moment, but it is for sure growing. It's getting bigger all the time, and it's accelerating even the pace that it's growing. And thanks in large part due to the passion that the competitive community has. We're working really hard to grow it, to make it a thing. You know, players like Badra is responsible for nearly half the teams in tournaments, just getting people together, people who can't find a team, you know. So there's a lot of passion in growing it, and it's growing for sure.
Yeah, I've seen the Badra advertisements. They are poggers. For someone who wants to get interested in competitive, where do they start? Do they go to Discords, Reddit? Is there specific ones?
Yeah. Definitely Discord is a good place to go because whenever you're getting into something new, you're gonna have a lot of questions. You're gonna want to talk to people that have more experience. So the competitive for honor Discord is a great place to go to get help with any practice. Looking for people to practice with, looking for any questions to get answered, and then
Nice.
for Glory as well. There's a lot of competitive level scrims that happen in For Glory. That would be a great place to go as well.
Very nice, very nice. So there's some avenues for players to go if they want to go from, let's say, intermediate, or let's say they're just playing their couch competitive 4 solo or something like that, to somewhere for them to go and learn and how to step up that game. For new players coming into the game, Score, how do you recommend they improve? Where do they start? For Honor can be a very daunting game for people to get into, and I hear that a lot. Like, they come in and there is a fair gripe with the game is after a post 1 year life cycle now, so the player standard is way higher, even at a casual level, than even 6 months ago. Never mind 1 year. How does a new player come in and adapt, learn? What's the nicest way to do it?
It's a problem in every fighting game, right? They all can be very difficult to get into compared to other games. There's a lot that you have to learn, a lot that you have to practice, and that's just the main thing. You gotta practice, and you gotta practice a lot. If you want to improve, you need to put in the hours. You need to just keep playing. And for a new player, I think duels is a really good place to learn because it just gets rid of everything extra, right? It's just you fighting another guy, nothing else about it, so you can really focus on yourself and improving.
For sure, and that one hero or whatever you're working on, learn how they flow and recoveries, moveset,
you
etc.
keep dueling people, you keep losing. Whenever you find someone who beats you, you keep rematching them and keep rematching them over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mentioned the last time, this is how my duels rating is bad. That's my excuse. A rematch player is better than me, but it definitely worked to my benefit, so I absolutely agree.
That happened to me too at the beginning. I started out with not a great win rates because I would keep rematching everybody, but that's how you get good. You need to practice, you need to improve, you need to ask yourself, what can I do to counter this? I got hit by this, what can I do to not get hit by that? And then anytime you can't quite figure out an answer, well, then you go into Discord and you ask if there. And then you go back to practicing, and it's just you gotta put in a bunch of hours if you want to get better.
Okay, awesome. So like, there's a way for new players in. There's somewhere for them to start. The competitive scene is we're going for. It's looking nice. It's growing. Game's in a nice state. Where do you see the future for Honor now? There's a big E3 announcement, but we don't know anything about it. But it's clear that the devs are investing in this game and the game's future. Do you see it going, kind of continuing this trend of gathering new players into the game, gathering interest? There's some streamers that are streaming it now that weren't before, even ones picking up the game for the first time. What do you make of the future of the game?
I mean, I think if you look at the population that the game had, like on release, you can see that there is huge potential for Honor to grow. It's just it's got a long journey to go. It's already made good progress. It's going to be a while longer, but it is steadily growing, and if the devs keep on this pace, who knows, it could get huge.
Yeah, I do similar hopes to myself. I feel like the game has a very bright outlook in terms of the quality of the game. Let's hope players also, start, pouring in at the same speed that the game is improving steadily. Score, as regards like one piece of advice or two little pieces of advice, what would you give to intermediate and casual players? I know competitive players now are kind of beyond very short pieces of advice for the most part. What would you say to someone more casual or intermediate, thinking about just a simple way to get better, some sort of a tip? What's important to look out for?
I mean, I said it before, you gotta practice. Like, people underestimate how much time they have to put into something to get good at it. They just think it'll happen overnight. No, you gotta just keep putting in the time, keep practicing. It'll happen eventually. If you approach the game with a open mindset, clear mind for improvement will come steadily as long as you keep putting in the hours.
it's hard to pin it down, isn't it, to one or two lines. There's a lot involved, especially when it comes to the fours. So I was trying to pin you in a corner for something quick, sweet, snappy line there for some clickbait, but it failed. We'll have to think of another title. What do you think of the dev score and the dev's work that's been put into this game? It was a very rocky start. How do you feel where the devs are right now? You could tell as the game was a new IP, it was also a new genre. It's a type of game that's never been made before. It was done on a very big platform, AAA from a big company, and you could see they really struggled with that early on. Where do you feel the devs are with their grip on the game now and their understanding of the players and taking feedback from them and all this?
Yeah, I communicate with some of the devs fairly often, that some of the fight team devs, so they got a amazingly close relationship with some of the top players. It's really cool to see that. I don't think there's any other game that has as close a relationship with the top level as we do with them. And so we can see it in the feedback we give and the way they take the feedback, that they really are understanding much better what kind of game they have on their hands here. Because, you mentioned at the start, this is a completely new game. Going into this, I mean, it's understandable that they had no idea how it would turn out, how players would play the game, because there's nothing that they could have compared it to. But yeah, over time, they're really starting to get a good handle on it, and there's great things to come for sure.
I like the way you summed that up. It's something else I actually entirely agree on. I hold a lot of similar opinions to yourself, Score, when it comes to these things. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the famous Skorbrand tier list. Are they difficult to come up with?
Well, mainly what I do is just I pay attention to all high-level scrims, 1v1, 4v4 scrims that happen, ones that I'm in, ones that I'm watching on Twitch, and it's taking note of everything that I see there, everything that I see working and not working, and after enough scrims, we kind of get a good idea of where stuff is placed, right? It's not that difficult right now in For Honor to see, oh, this character is better than this character. I mean, there's such huge difference between characters right now, so it's pretty easy to make a tier list for this game compared to other games. But yeah, just we just play a lot. If there's any matchup where I'm like, oh, I wonder how this would go, I'd find a top player, play that matchup with me, you see how it ends up.
Yeah, I know Highlander was kind of bumped a little bit after some of the better players got their hands on him in scrims for a while. So, there is some movement. Has there been any major movement in the tier list in the past month since launch of Season 6?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, Orochi, but that goes without saying. But I have moved Warlord up lately. Of course, being just one guy, well, I mean, I get input from a lot of other people, but mainly it comes down to me to decide. I will be wrong about things at times.
Sure.
So, Warlord I felt was placed too low in 1v1, so I mean, if you look at the list now, he's way up there in A tier now. I think he's like the top of it. So yeah, I mean, if there's changes that'll happen, because if the list is not perfect, I feel if you look on the comp sub, often like the list will be taken as gospel almost, and I don't look at it like that. Like, I look at it as just my opinion, and I'm just one guy. Sure.
So you have a more a malleable approach to it. It's kind of a living tier list. There's some free movement. There's some free movement in there between.
Yeah, I try not to change it too often, of course.
Opinions,
I mean, what's the point of having a list that changes all the time? But
yeah,
I mean, there will be changes to it. I will be wrong sometimes.
I mean, not anyone knows absolutely everything when it comes to this game, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess that's pretty much it for the most part. Score, is there anything you'd like to impart on the viewers or leave and go with this interview? Do you want to say anything about the game, or yourself, or any streaming like that, or if you're streaming in the future? What's Skorbrand's parting words here?
Well, I am not streaming at the moment, but I am thinking about getting back into it, so stay tuned maybe in coming week or two. I might be streaming again. I would be streaming tournaments and high-level scrims if I do come back.
Nice,
So
nice.
yeah, there's a good possibility of it.
Cool. Well, if you do let me get that link from your score, I'll be watching it, and I'll have to link it here for sure so people can see a good place to learn and see what the state of the game is at a competitive level. Score, it's been a pleasure to have you on, mate. It's much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And guys, cheers for checking out the video. If there isn't a link of Score's Twitch down below, there will be one updated if you want to come back at some point. And thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed.
Break him. Call then.
So you wanna be hardcore with your hat to the back, talking about the gaps in your raps, but I can't feel that hardcore appeal that you're screaming. Maybe I'm dreaming. This ain't Christopher Williams, still some MC got the feel one.